Beans, how's it going?
It's going good. It's been a long week.
It has been a very long week, even though it's nice to have this 4 day weekend. It's making the long week seem a lot better. So it is I guess happy early Valentine's Day, but happy late Valentine's Day at the same time. At the moment we're recording this, early Valentine's Day, but for anyone out there that's feeling lonely, happy Valentine's Day, you lonely man or woman
Yo,
or
to
person.
all you only people, BeansTalk is your Valentine today,
Yeah,
alright?
we'll be your Valentines, guys. We'll be your Valentines. But it's a nice day. It's been a nice chill day. Beans, what have you been doing for the day?
Homework, I went to mass, and I went to work. I was, big three.
The big three: school, God, work.
Money! That's it.
Money. Um,
Yeah.
Before we introduce our guest, ladies and gentlemen, I have my second chance review for this week. This week, I couldn't decide what I wanted to watch until literally yesterday when I was scrolling through a list of really bad movies. And as we all know, Sam Raimi's third Spider-Man film with Tobey Maguire has been considered one of the worst films in superhero history. And I decided to watch it again because I remember cringing so hard at this movie. First of all, I'll backtrack. First time I watched it, I thought it was great, but I was also like 8, and I was like, Spider-Man's so cool. And then I watched it again a couple more times and convinced myself, no, this is a horrible movie. This is very cringy. But I rewatched it. I did the usual like I did last week. I tried to find some positive things. Uh, Biggest thing I noticed at first of all, having J.K. Simmons in a movie as J. Jonah Jameson, always a positive. That is the best J. Jonah Jameson. I really do think he's hilarious. You seen any other movies with J.K. Simmons, Beans?
I feel like I have, but I can't put my finger on which ones.
The
I don't
dude's
know, you'd
fun.
have to.
I don't know. It's like a dry kind of humor. It's kind of fun. Also,
Yeah.
it's
I
hard
mean,
to
yeah, I've seen
review.
the Spider-Man one with him,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah. It's hard to review this movie. It honestly was. I really had to search for stuff while I was watching it. I really thought it would like you know, I would feel like it's good again, and it would, light the fire in me that this is actually a decent movie. But it was very hard to find positive things about this movie. The actor that plays Sandman, Thomas Hayden Church, actually a decent Sandman. That was like the probably the best performance in the movie, and his story was probably like the only decent arc that I could notice in the movie. Everything else was kind of just used as a plot device, and it didn't do well. I don't think in my eyes. Um, for when it was made, I don't know when it was made, but I know it was kind of a little bit ahead of its time in terms of visual effects. It actually looks all right. The visuals and the special effects look pretty decent. It's hard to bounce this idea off of you, Beans, because apparently you've never seen this movie.
Yeah, but so what I know about it is I'm pretty sure it's the prequel. It's the prequels for Spider-Man. It's made by the original people, but
Oh
it's kind
yeah,
of
it's
also
and also yeah,
a bunch of too much stuff and not enough, good storytelling and
yeah.
character.
They definitely tried too much, to just add stuff.
But
Also,
also great memes.
yeah, no, that's another positive thing that I wrote down here. There's good memes that come from this movie. Um, yeah, just because it's that bad. And then the last thing, honestly, Tobey Maguire is a good Spider-Man. He's not a bad. He's not the best Spider-Man. I don't think. I think
Whoa,
Tom Holland has taken it so far. And
whoa!
that may seem like a bandwagon kind of
Tom
opinion.
Holland is not chubby enough to be.
That's the thing I noticed. I don't want to hate on Tobey Maguire because I'm trying to make it positive,
He
but
Tobey Maguire's chubby little face until
he's
he is in Spider-Man. All right.
he's kind of chubby. I don't know why. Just because I think we've been told that Spider-Man needs to be like super skinny and super muscular at the same time, which is so impossible to make that look good. But he is a good Spider-Man. He's not the best, but I think Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire and all the people that worked on those first Spider-Man films, they have to be given some credit because they were the first people to try it. Like they did it. They made a lot of mistakes, and then the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man had to learn from those mistakes, and there were still some mistakes. And now, I mean, it's pretty good now. You know what I mean in Beans? It's like they started it, and it was bad, but I mean they were the pioneers. Someone had to do it first.
That's fair. I like not all of them were bad though. I don't know. I'd have to rewatch them, but um, yeah, those were crazy. I like how I think they're way more cartoony than a lot of the superhero movies we get these days. And they're super dramatic too, in a way that you kind of don't see anymore. You know, Marvel's kind of got this like um, it works very crisply and cleanly with
Yeah,
Marvel these days, but back in these days, you know, you kind of have these like crazy villains. They really kind of centers on both the first two on the villains, like ish, and they're like um, they're so strange. Like Doc Ock with his arms and his whole competing with them, and um, yeah, that's one of the things that stuck out to me is that these always stick in your head because there wasn't really anything like that back then. Was having this guy in this green suit and the performance that Willem Dafoe gives for the Green Goblin
yeah.
and the flippin' Doc Ock character were just kind of insane. And probably I'll always remember them in my heart. I love the villains from the first trilogy a lot more than a lot of the villains in like anything. So I give it credit for that, but yeah, I don't know what else to say about the Spider-Man.
Yeah, you're right. They were very out there, but it was like it was the only thing they had to go with of their time. So that was my review for Spider-Man 3. Overall result, I don't know if I'm converted. It's not a great film. I still don't think it's a good film. But again, I still respect and give credit to Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire for starting all of that, and everyone else who worked on those films. So now that our second chance movie review is out of the way, we will introduce our guest. Beans, if you don't mind, I'll introduce our guest since I brought our guest to this podcast. I know I'm a
Well,
little,
all right.
yeah, get out of here. I'm tired of you introducing the guests, man. You're taking.
No.
Our guest today, none other than a senior that goes to St. Joe as well. I played football with him for 4 years. Everyone, welcome Zach Smith.
How we doing, guys?
How's it going, Zach? It's been a long time. Actually, one of the first guests that I thought of wanted to bring on just because I thought it would bring for interesting conversation about anything we brought up. Not sure why. It just kind of like popped in my head. But you reached out to us, which actually I was like, okay, come on to BeansTalk. That'd be really interesting. It'd be fun.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing too because, and I didn't want to bring this up immediately, but it's the first thing I think of, like, because it's kind of what we thought when we brought Marie on. Both of you work, I guess, you intern for Redeemer Radio, and you do something like when we asked Marie earlier, a couple weeks ago. You do very similar things to what we do. I wouldn't say we're as professional as Redeemer Radio, but in terms of like commenting and then doing a podcast, it's a little different in terms that you're live. But I don't know. You want to just talk about that because it's the first thing that pops into my head when I think about our podcast and how it kind of relates to what you do.
Definitely. First of all, give you guys some credit. This is a great podcast you got going on here. But
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah. Me and Marie both intern with Redeemer Radio. Also, Liam Fuller and Junior Teo Sanchez all work with Redeemer and under Angelo DiCarlo, the sports director over there. He used to be the sports director at WNDU. But yeah, we just cover while we were playing football, me and Marscola, they covered our games, and now I'm helping cover the St. Joe boys currently, and we just got done covering the St. Joe girls since their season was over now. But yeah, that's why my voice is all raspy. We just got back from the Holy War last night. Did the JV broadcast. I was on play-by-play, and then also I was at the Northwood game today, just as a fan this time. But back-to-back student sections, voice gets raspy.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because when I first heard about this internship, I don't know why. For some reason, I don't know. Honestly, I think it would have been fun. I wish I had done it, but I had no clue that it would lead to like you do like play-by-play stuff in a game. I thought maybe it would just be, you like carry equipment around, but you're much more involved, I think, than people think with the Redeemer Radio internship.
Yeah, we're very involved. And a shout out to Liam. We came up with this idea this year. This was the first ever intern ran broadcast Redeemer Radio has ever done. Me and Liam came up with this idea when we were setting up the broadcast for the Penn game earlier this year over at the Palace, and we had some downtime. We were watching the conclusion of the JV game, and it was really exciting. And me and Liam just looked at each other. We were like, announcing one of these games just for the JV would be super cool because we give all the love to the varsity guys, but the JV kids are out there hustling and working every day, and wanted to give them some love too because they are having a great season themselves, and they're really fun to watch.
Yeah, so you've been able to kind of follow both boys and girls basketball. I find that very that would be nice to be able to do that. I get a lot of people, they don't have a lot of time to go to like every single game, but it's what you have to do, every single time there's a game, at least most of the game, I assume. So, I mean, has it been, I assume it's been fun being able to follow like that in a different aspect than just a fan.
Oh yeah. It definitely opens your eyes to see like how much like goes unnoticed a little bit, like all the little details of a season. And like with this internship, especially with this year, obviously with limited to none fans, I cannot remember the last boys game I've missed this year or last year really. So it gets me into games and just gives me something to look forward to every day of the week. Just next time to go watch the basketball game, tweet out some updates.
Has there ever been like a player that's really impressed you? Like because you've been watching so many games, you kind of seen like growth or something?
Yeah, for sure. With St. Joe especially, I've seen Jack Quinn come up from JV superstar sophomore, and I think my early junior year, and to now varsity starter most of the time. That's been really cool. I got to see sorry, my Siri just came up on my laptop for some reason.
You're
good. I've got to watch Blake Wesley from Riley play twice, and he's obviously phenomenal. JR also. We take for granted how great he is sometimes, but dude's an animal. You just realize how much talent this area really has. I mean, every team in the area that I've watched has like one or two guys that could compete at a very high level at every school.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, go ahead, Beans.
No, it is just kind of crazy. You hear like Mr. McCarthy was talking about like Indiana being one of the best states for cross country, and you just like it doesn't really hit you that like even South Bend can compete with a lot of like bigger places. It feels weird. It feels weird, especially seeing all these people go to like D1 schools and stuff.
Our grade is loaded for D1. We had 7 signees just in the early period. That's unheard of at most schools, especially for a small private school in Indiana. That's really good.
Yeah, it seems like it would. It honestly, I didn't have that kind of impression when I first came to the school and was like because I hadn't St. Joe athletics. It's like an up and down kind of thing. Certain sports are like loved and certain sports are hated no matter how well they're doing. But I wasn't expecting. I mean, I've seen a lot of in the 4 years we've been here. I mean, this year especially, but in the 4 years we've been here, I've noticed a lot of signees and a lot of people that have exceeded athletics in terms of just actually being a starter and more of actually going on to play college sports. It's crazy.
Definitely. And all of our teams compete at a very high level. Like I believe every sport besides 2, I want to say, have won a sectional championship in the past 4 years. That's nuts.
Yeah,
it is crazy. I think it's I mean it is like a really good position we're in. Just being able to have a gym and stuff, and having like a lot of coaches that really care about the sports that they coach. It really matters, and so it's crazy to think that because of like these things, because of the things that we were like given these opportunities to really giving kids these opportunities to get scholarships to schools for things like swimming and tennis and stuff. Like this stuff does matter, and yeah, it's really cool to see us excel in this field. Yeah.
Speaking of swimming, shout out to MC Pruitt, 3-time state champ all in a row.
Yeah.
And just as a testament for the having the facilities and stuff, our girls finished 8th in the state overall, and the only teams above us were all like 3 to 7 times our size, and they all have their own pool at the school. So it's really a testament to their hard work and dedication, and good job, ladies.
Yeah, it really, again, yeah, like Zach said, congrats, and that's crazy that, I mean, specifically, I don't want to, dwindle on like one person, because obviously the whole, almost every single program has something like very impressive about it at St. Joe, but Mary Kate, that's crazy. 3 times state, and I forget, where did she commit?
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, yeah. So, I mean, pretty decent swimmer, pretty decent swimming program. I think our swim program, I mean, as far as I've observed, I don't watch a lot of sports of our school. I feel like I should have in these past 4 years, but definitely one of the most impressive ones that I've seen in my 4 years here.
Definitely.
So while we're all still on the topic of sports, I mean, I kind of wanted to ask you about this, Zach, but also Beans, I guess we can kind of comment on this too, because, I'm curious, before I guess I ask Beans, I'll ask, how you doing with missing football, man? I'm really missing it, dude.
It's rough.
Yeah, it's really tough, man.
You don't think it will go by as fast as it does. Those 4 years flew by.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it just popped in my head. It's not even because I invited, or you're coming on this week to the podcast, and I thought, oh, well, you play football. I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, it's been a long time because wrestling season for me just ended, and I'm for the most part done with sports, and it's crazy to think that I forget how long ago, but football's been done for a while, but it feels like it just ended. It's that effective right now on me.
Yeah. Late October still seems like yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at my Indian head right here on my desk. But the football program is special.
Yeah, it is. It's I'm really gonna miss that. I'll miss wrestling too. That was special too. I can't believe I actually did that. A lot of people can't believe I actually did that.
Shout out to you, dude, making regionals.
Yeah, dude, I felt good. I honestly not at all what I think a lot of people were expecting of me, as well as me, because I mean I just was not very good last year, and then I improved a lot. I feel like this year, but I'll miss that. But Beans, I wanted to ask you, like, what's like the last sport you did for St. Joe? You haven't really done a lot of sports, I guess, this year, but like being done with, I don't know, I guess cross country. You're gonna miss a lot of that.
I'm for sure gonna miss cross country, man. I mean, I do miss cross country. Yeah, I feel bad about stepping away, but like that wouldn't have worked with having a job. But like that is another thing that's special. I mean, we could definitely have, like, Irwin's talked about it, just go watch that episode. It was the Christmas special if you want to know just how special cross country can be. But there's something amazing about running that you just don't get anywhere else. It's just you get to just be physically exerting yourself for a little bit, so you get to kind of put your mind on that. It's one of the best feelings, because a lot of the times, especially nowadays, we're cramped in our rooms, and so yeah, whenever I think about that, I'm like, oh, I love running. When we have a beautiful area in like downtown South Bend, and then we have that little path, and so we always had really cool places to run. Like Notre Dame is right by us. Yeah, cross country at St. Joe was really cool, and yeah, I miss it.
Zach, Zach Taylor, our moderator here. You gonna miss track and cross country? I assume you will, but go ahead and spill your heart out for us, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I obviously don't miss it very much. Like right now, just because I'm still in the heat of track season, and you're like still with mainly the same people doing that. But I'm just like thinking, like, especially after my like last 5K race at semi-state, I'm just like, wow, I'm like never gonna run like a good competitive 5K like ever again. After this PR is probably gonna be my personal record for the rest of my life, because like I'm not running in college, so it's just gonna be it's just weird for it to be over. But definitely once track season is done, I'm gonna like have some weird existential thoughts. It's just like, what? I don't have to like go to practice and run every day anymore. Like, what am I
Yeah,
gonna
dude.
do with my life?
It's been a very weird week for me. First week of no
Hmm.
wrestling practice, and it was very, very strange, man. Like even with football, that was strange too. Just nothing happening. I mean, I took a week off anyway because right after football, I had wrestling. But that week off was I did like nothing other than what I had to do, which was like homework and I guess some stuff around the house. But I felt like I had nothing to do, and I probably had plenty to do. I just didn't know what to do with my time. It's like you're right. It's like an existential crisis. I feel like it's a huge void when all the sports are just done and I have nothing to do.
Yeah,
It's
you don't feel
so
that when you don't have sports. Like you don't know what it's like. You don't know how much time you have when you don't have sports. Like all of you people who don't have sports, like I don't know. But yeah, if you have sports and then you just don't, it feels like you just have like 5 more hours in the day or something ridiculous. Yeah.
that number's not actually off too much. You get
Oh yeah,
practice starts right after school at 3:30, and then get home, shower up, eat dinner. You're looking at about 8 o'clock before you're doing anything productive, like outside of schoolwork or anything.
Yeah, I know. Being a student
yeah, and
athlete,
it's a weird feeling because it's. No, go ahead.
oh, being a
You're good,
student
Vince.
athlete is just I mean, we talked about how much success people are having, but it's a lot of work for these people to be putting in, and yeah, it's really amazing. Just yeah, I don't know. I didn't have much to say. I'm sorry.
No, and
Maybe so.
it's a weird feeling because it's not completely horrible because part of me is like I have all this time. This is great. I can like nap or I can do something productive or I can just do anything that I couldn't do when practice was happening. But also at the same time, it's like a mix of that and I want to go back to practice when I didn't the week before. Literally was like I can seriously picture a moment last week when I was like, I can't believe I made it to regionals. I don't want to be here anymore. I just want practice and the season to be over. And now I don't want it to end. It's crazy. I mean, uh, I I don't know. It's a weird. I mean, anyone who's done sports and has finished sports knows the feeling, and it's hard to describe. But it's just the feeling that if you did any kind of sport for a decent amount of time and then stopped it, it's a very it hits you in the face.
Well, the gaining of free time thing, that's a every season thing. But then like for the off season stuff, like when I had to come into the building after school one day, and I walk past the weight room and I'm seeing all the football guys for next year in there lifting. And I'm like, that was I should usually be in there right now. Like the free time thing is a whole year thing that you get once you're like senior year's over, like that, or your senior season. Like it's it was nuts seeing them in there.
Oh yeah, walking even when it was like I was still wrestling, but the football practice was over and I kept walking past the weight room going to wrestling practice. I'm like, I should why I mean, I keep thinking to myself like, oh man, I need to be lifting, but I'm in the middle of a season. And then when now wrestling is over and I walk past the weight room now that both of those sports are over, I'm looking and I'm like, I can't believe I'm not doing that. I mean, I'm lifting on my own, but it isn't in that weight room. It isn't with those guys. It's strange. It's really weird. So if we're moving on from there, that was a sad time. Let's talk. Let's have a little more fun. We weren't able to last week. Anyone listening, we weren't able to talk a little about the Super Bowl because we actually did record after the Super Bowl, but it wasn't on our minds because it was such a busy day and we were rushing into it. So we want to take the time a little bit to be a week late and talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. First thing I want to mention, before we talk about like the Super Bowl itself, I want to get opinions on all three of you guys. The halftime performance is such a I don't want to say controversial. It's not controversial, but in terms of how split it is between people that liked it and disliked it, like I personally thought it was actually really good, but there's so many people that are like it was so bad. I mean, there was little to no production, and then the other side people are like, "What are you talking about?" He put like millions of dollars, millions of his own money into this production, and also the songs that he chose. People are debating about that. So if you have any kind of opinion on it, guys, I mean, Beans, how'd you feel about the halftime show? Hold on, did you watch the game?
Here's the deal. I did watch the halftime show, but I didn't watch the game, and I know I know that I'll get killed, but it's all right. All right, here's the deal. So here's my review of the halftime show. It's good. Like, yeah. So it's not like I'm a super Weeknd fan. So I wasn't like super hyped to see the the Weeknd, but definitely the choir was cool. I liked the robot guys. He moved around a lot in the stadium. I thought that was cool. And yeah, just a really solid performance. I feel like maybe a lot of people didn't think that this was good, but he didn't do anything wrong. He did a textbook kind of performance. Did really like giant with that choir and stuff, and all of the dancers on the field. So, and it also, he didn't restrict himself to a normal concert by just like being on a stage or something. So it was a smart thing. Yeah, it was cool to watch. The Weeknd, he had a good presence, and he was giving a good performance, so that's good. So yeah, I give it, I don't know, 8 out of 10. There we go.
Zach, how you feel about it?
One thing I want to point out, this was the first live music we've had in this country in about a year.
Oh, man. So, that's understandable. People were just like throwing anything they could at it. I get what you, yeah.
Well, and not even that. I thought The Weeknd did a great job. I'm not the biggest Weeknd fan, but I knew every song that he played. I mean, I thought it was a good performance. Sure, I would have picked maybe a couple other people to do it, but I had no complaints when I saw him performing. And yeah, I'd give it about an 8 or 9 range too.
Yeah,
I think the Justin Timberlake, our sophomore year, I think that one was really good as well. That's probably the best I've seen live, but Weeknd is definitely up there.
Yeah, it was. You mentioned, you would have had other people there too, like performing with him. That was another thing people were super critical about. I don't know if he requested it or if they just didn't have other artists, but it was only him. And people usually like it when they're like last year. It was Shakira and J-Lo, and people were like that. There's multiple, at least more than just one. That was another thing. I think people were critical about that. I was gonna be, but he did well on his own. I think it would have been nice to have another artist, but I don't think he needed it.
Well, the thing is, I don't think he does many features. Like, I can't think of the last song he did with a feature outside of the Black Panther soundtrack.
Yeah,
he does his own stuff. Yeah,
exactly. He kind of like even though it's not that like off kilter, but it's definitely his music is very like isolated, it's kind of like personal, and so yeah, he doesn't really want to bring on other people, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
And probably not what the stereotypical NFL fan would listen to normally, so
yeah,
that could be why the reactions are so bipolar in a sense.
Yeah. Mr. Taylor, how'd you feel about that halftime performance?
So I'm gonna be honest. I didn't watch
it. Yeah.
I didn't watch it. I didn't watch the game. I didn't watch the halftime performance. I was working that evening.
Oh, okay. I mean, from what we've described, how do you feel about the halftime performance?
Exactly what Bean says. That's how I feel.
Yes, thank you.
I've seen the memes of like him grabbing the camera guy, and
those are so good.
Yeah, but that's about all I've seen of the halftime performance.
Yeah, that's a good thing that came out of it. It was a good performance, I still think, but that's another great thing. If you hated them, at least you can laugh about the memes, because that one format, that was interesting. I mean, I seriously haven't, there's the typical where an artist will like walk in and the camera's following them and then it'll lead them on stage. But the dude just grabbed the camera. At least that's what it looked like. I'm pretty sure that's how it happened, but that's what he made it look like. And the production was interesting, and it was very disorienting at first, but I thought it was a creative take.
Oh yeah, and that whole scene, especially when they zoom out, I think is the best part of the entire thing. That was my opinion. when all the people rush in. I like that.
The only thing I would say is it was very confusing for anyone that doesn't follow The Weeknd and what his music videos are doing, because the bandaged faces threw everyone but me in the room off, because I had an idea. Yeah, like I don't like watch like every single music video of The Weeknd, but I know what was like going on with that. There were people asking what's wrong with The Weeknd in this music video, but that was like his thing, like making fun of like Hollywood doing too much plastic surgery and stuff like that. But my mom was like, "Why is he trying to do Thriller? Like, why does it look so scary?" And it was, yeah, that was the only thing. It probably threw a lot of people off, thinking, "Why is his backup dancers all bloodied up and bandaged?"
Yeah, well, I was just like, oh, that looks cool. I like that they have, a style, and then that was it. That was my reaction.
So to the Super Bowl itself, it doesn't sound like anyone but Zach and I are gonna have something to say about this. So first thing I want to talk about, a lot of people really didn't want the Bucks to win this, just because they didn't want Brady to basically seal the deal for still being the greatest. And a lot of people still don't think he's the greatest after. I don't have much of an opinion on it. He's a good quarterback, obviously, but I don't know if I'm going to make a definite he's the greatest. Zach, you're actually a Packers fan, so how happy were you seeing Tom Brady yet again on there?
Not at all. I think that I'm trying to get my words out here the best way. I think that if the referees called the same things in the Super Bowl as they did in the game 2 weeks prior, there would be a different Super Bowl champion. However, that did not happen, and Brady did what Brady does, have a good of a game as he needs to, and then have his defense just go absolutely ballistic and not ever give Mahomes and the Chiefs, one of the best offenses in football, never gave them a chance to even get going at all. That was the first game in Patrick Mahomes' career since grade school where his offense never scored a touchdown.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing to me is everyone's talking about Brady, but holding a team to 9 points in the Super Bowl, like that's kind of.
And not just any team. That's the Andy Reid Chiefs, one of the best offensive minds in all of football, with the fastest man in the league, Tyreek Hill, the best tight end in football, Travis Kelce. The only person who I think has a legitimate shot to unseat Brady as the greatest when it's all said and done, in Patrick Mahomes. I was beyond shocked when they put up 9 points.
Yeah, and that was a big thing too. People kept talking about how even to the last second, the Bucks defense didn't let up like one bit. They kept going and going, and then it started to inspire the offense, and the offense kept going and didn't hold up at all, which you don't in the Super Bowl. Obviously, that's a thing, but I mean, it was to a degree where you noticed it more than just, oh, it's another game with Tom Brady being really good and the Bucks defense doing like they do. I mean, it was definitely, I think it exceeded. It's like Brady said at the end when he received MVP. He said, "We played our best game of the year." I don't want to debate it. I don't want to really give credit to it, but it was a great game. I don't really have an opinion whether it was a great game or not. I don't watch too much NFL to know enough to give like a definite yes or no, but it was a good game by the Bucks.
So I watch the NFL every week. As a fan of just football, it was not a fun game to watch. If you were a Bucks fan, that was the best game plan I've seen executed in a long time. They double teamed Tyreek Hill the entire time, couldn't let him get any separation at all. They sent constant edge pressure when Kansas City's only weakness was their two offensive tackles were both out with injury. So they sent constant edge pressure to just make Patrick Mahomes as uncomfortable as possible and just let Brady do his thing. And as much as people want to hate that, that's all you can ask for a team to do. And Bruce Arians in Tampa Bay. And also Tom coming down there in year one and giving them their first Super Bowl That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That team didn't even make the playoffs the year before.
Yeah, that is crazy to me. I mean, so growing up, I always saw it as like, Peyton Manning is way better than Tom Brady. At least that was in my mind because, Peyton Manning's team would have just done horribly without him. And I think he left and Colts were bad. And so, like, it always seemed to me like he was just the factor. And I never thought of Tom Brady as just the factor. But I guess, like, maybe he is an X factor. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's more of a locker room feel than anything. I think Peyton was more skilled, and Brady is just more of a leadership guy. But he knows his limitations. He doesn't do anything he doesn't have to do. And I think while Brady may be on a better team, I think Peyton was more valuable to the Colts' success in the 2000s than Brady might have been to, say, the Patriots. But he brought it was also Tampa Bay just completely buying into the win now. Like, they gave Tom Brady any weapon he wanted this summer. They went and got Rob Gronkowski out of retirement. They went and got Leonard Fournette from Jacksonville. I'm probably forgetting somebody, but they did everything in their power to make sure that this year was the year they got it done, and went and did it.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy.
It's crazy to think. No, go ahead, Beans.
Oh, it's just crazy to me that, like, the quarterback's kind of the only one that you can build a team around because running backs, they used to be dominant, but, like, nowadays running back career is, like, 4 years, and you don't really build a team around a wide receiver, obviously, and so, like, it's kind of like, quarterbacks are most important partially just because they can last that long, they can learn the game that long. And you can have them throughout the season and they're not going to end up like seriously injured. Which we're seeing with Tom Brady as he's in his 40s winning Super Bowls.
And also there's the big thing, like you mentioned, Beans, like when you were like a little younger, a few years back, you wouldn't have thought, Tom Brady is the factor. Have you looked at like I forget exactly what it was, but just look at Tom Brady like when he first started. He doesn't look super athletic. He doesn't look like a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He looks like some guy that did okay in high school and kind of didn't just stop playing football after that. But I mean, he's still Tom Brady. It's crazy that he came from that.
His combine performance was historically bad.
Yeah.
He looks so much like a normie. That's why I don't want to believe he's the GOAT, because he just
yeah, like he looks too much like just a guy that they like pulled from the stands and was like, "Hey, you want to play some quarterback? We need a quarterback."
That's such like a 1940s thing where they're like, "Hey, you,
come on,
you can play some quarterback. You can throw a ball. Look at this big skin, hey."
I mean, yeah, you're right. That's what it feels like, especially looking at the old photos. Now it's such a recognizable face. It's hard to look at Tom Brady's face and just him playing and be like, oh, well, that's Tom Brady. Of course he's good. But anyone that doesn't know who it is, I mean, I would argue it's like you just said. They would look at it and be like, well, I guess he plays quarterback. But yeah, you got to watch some games and oh, well, this guy may go down as the best quarterback in history. I don't necessarily completely agree with it, but a lot of people think so.
Yeah. I guess that is crazy that, like, the Bucs get Tom Brady and it's all of a sudden a win now. And just, like, football has that name pressure that, like, a Hollywood movie would where, you get this big actor and then you're like, all right, pour all of our money into this. Let's go. I guess it might even just be, like, tickets, People are going to buy tickets now that Tom Brady's playing there because they want to see Tom Brady or something. I don't know.
Oh, I'd agree with you there, but he announced he was going to Tampa after COVID hit, and no fans would be going. So
yeah,
I don't know if tickets would be the main driving there, but
the Bucs must have been like so frustrated with that. They're like, now is when you decide to come on. We can't sell tickets, and then they were finally able to sell some. But
not only that, they hosted the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
in Tampa.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
that's so funny. If they would have lost, that would have been so funny. I guess it's actually now it's just sad that they won and they couldn't celebrate with a ton of people. But
Yeah.
Well, they did. They did a boat parade in the
oh
Tampa
yeah,
Bay.
Yeah.
I saw something like that, like Tom Brady getting carried away.
Oh, it was bad.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
That's what I remember. Like the game when I heard someone say something. The game when Notre Dame beat Clemson back in 2020, this past season. I remember someone telling me, I don't know if it was Kelly himself or if it was just some coach, but someone was saying on the sidelines like, "Hey, get ready because you know this game's about to end and we've won and they're going to storm the field. Get these players inside as fast as possible because we don't want any kind of negative or positive tests." I mean, that's how prepared you got to be in a situation like that. But I guess if it's the Super Bowl, man, I mean, try your best, but it's going to be tough to keep people away like that.
I like the idea of football coaches drawing up an anti-COVID playbook. They're like, all right.
Trying to
Here's
get into
how
the
you
locker room.
yeah.
The protocols this summer were nuts.
Yeah.
To everything we had to do to make sure nothing happened.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I obviously when I first heard about COVID and all this and heard that it was happening and we were in quarantine, I was like, okay, it's serious. I didn't think it would stick around, first of all, just because I knew nothing about it, and I was like, oh, it's like Ebola, but it's not like Ebola because it's definitely a lot more universal and it's global. But I heard of it and I was like, okay, I don't think it's gonna show up again, or I think it's gonna not stick around as long. And I think when we have a football season, it's gonna be fun. Maybe we'll have to wear masks, but it was definitely a lot more than just having to wear masks. I mean, spraying every single pad, not doing pads for a whole day just so we could keep them clean. I mean, it's crazy how much protocol went into having a season. I'm surprised I had a whole season for any of the two sports that I played this year. I mean, it's crazy, man.
We'll say Indiana did one of the best jobs of making sure kids got to play this year. And whatever you might think about how different this season was, at the end, it was pretty normal, to be honest with you. Like, yeah, the summer stuff was a little different, but once you got to the actual games and just throw a mask on, social distance when possible, and it was pretty much back to normal.
Yeah, playing games wasn't as different. I feel bad for Michigan teams because they couldn't play at first, and then they are able to play, but they have to play with masks on, and I can't imagine how that's got to be hard to breathe and hard to play in general, man.
And their governor kept messing with them in the playoffs. They were down to like the Sweet 16, I want to say, and they just kept delaying when they could start back up. They didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think they got the state championships in until like a couple weeks ago.
Man. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I heard about that. And also, I forget. I think it might also be in Michigan because, with the other sport I play, wrestling, or that I play, I wrestle. But I had heard from someone that works with my dad, who I think someone she knows also has like a son that wrestles. It might be. I think it was in like another state or something, but they didn't have any wrestling season. They ended up having. I don't know if it's happening right now, but a 2-week wrestling season where literally it was just like. You can practice, and then you can practice for like 2 days, and then a meet, and practice for 2 days, and that's all it was. It wasn't really, it wasn't going to mean anything, just so the kids could wrestle for 2 weeks. But a 2-week season.
At that point, it's almost questioning if it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess I think it was just so they could do something. I mean, some of these kids were relying on at least 1 or 2 matches just so they could show colleges they could wrestle. I mean. Which I don't know. I don't know if colleges took that into consideration and was like, if this is all you got, we'll take this into consideration. But yeah, it was crazy. My dad told me 2 weeks, and I was like, I can't imagine that. I mean, for like the first 4 weeks of our actual wrestling season, we didn't even have a match. It was just 4 weeks of practice, and then you finally had matches. These kids did 2 weeks of wrestling, where it was probably a practice, a match, a practice, a match. I mean. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is terrifying. Yeah, sports have never been something that you felt like was just going to be taken away so quickly by something like this. And yeah, I guess we just got to make adjustments and set priorities. Like, yeah, how much do we value sports and stuff? And so yeah, it was a really tough situation to put everyone in. And it's kind of weird just seeing people react to this kind of stuff, like what happens and what's gonna happen in the future. I mean, obviously things are gonna clear up, and hopefully we're never gonna have another thing like this. But I don't know, history's had a lot of like pandemics, and seeing as how connected things are, like we might be able to expect one. I don't know, not like in our lifetimes, but within the next 200 years. And I guess I'll never see what happens there, but I don't know if it'll be different. I don't know. If you guys 200 years from now, if you're listening to this, I don't know, go to my grave, find it, and just tell it how you're handling the new pandemic, because I want to know.
It's probably happening. I mean, honestly, it's so funny to think because it wasn't exactly 100 years, but when this pandemic idea first started coming up in like late December of 2019, everyone was like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be." Everyone was joking like, "Oh, we had the what was it in 1800 Spanish flu?"
Yeah, something like that.
No, Spanish flu was in 1900 or 1920, right? Yeah. But there was the Black Plague, wasn't that the one that people talk about? There was something.
Black Plague was in like the 14 and 1300s predominantly.
Yeah, but there's that. But then also like 200 years ago there was a pandemic, and then 100 years ago was a pandemic, and people were joking like, "Oh, it's going to be another one," every 100 years. And then it happened, and now we just got to see in I guess in 99 years is it gonna happen again?
Yeah, we gotta hold on, dude. How many years is that? I'm gonna be 120 years old or something. Oh, just gotta hold on, and then we can find out.
That reminds me of something. Like I've always, like you say, you lived 120. I don't know if 120 is possible, but I've always wanted to live to 97 so that I could see the new century.
Oh yeah,
that would be cool. At least
what's up? You just really like the number 97 for a second.
No, if I can be there New Year's.
I feel like living to 97. That's a good year to die.
That's a good year to die. You don't have to be at 100 because then everyone is like, "Oh, it's another guy that tried to go all the way 100." 97's a good round year.
When you get to 100, people are like, "Oh, you're 100," like it's some big deal. All right, but 97, it's low key,
Especially with with me, I was born in 2003. I'm gonna see 2100. I mean that'd be awesome to see it. So that's my life goal. Eat all the avocados I can so that I can see the year 2100.
That's an interesting goal. Dang, I can't even imagine. I mean, like some days I'm like, oh, I'll just be an old man and I'll walk around, I'll laugh at everything because I'm old. What are you gonna do? But other days I'm like, what's my life gonna look like in 60 years? I have no idea. Or if I'll be alive, I don't know.
Who knows? Beans, what do you want to talk about? We're out of topics.
What do I want to talk about? Oh boy, you're gonna put me on the spot like this, though. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the game Hot Seat. How does that make you guys feel? I remember one time.
Hot Seat?
Y'all never played Hot Seat? It's when you do this as an icebreaker in school. For some classes where you'll have some kid just pick him out. Maybe he's like the annoying one. You want him to be embarrassed for a change instead of making you feel uncomfortable.
Wait, what is the game?
That's the coolest thing I've said in my life. All right, so you pick out that kid. You're like, go sit in that chair, kid. Now, we're gonna ask you questions, and you have to answer them now. And we got like 3 minutes on the timer or something. And then we all ask him questions, and he's like, I don't know the answer. Like, not questions about facts, but questions about himself or something. And then we learn about him. There we go.
I've never played that game, I don't think.
I mean, we kind of did that in Oros's class sophomore year. I remember when you could, like, go in the hot seat during discussions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like that, I guess. And I remember, bro, Caden would be going in that hot seat all the time, man. just to make some sort of. It would be funny when someone goes in the hot seat because a topic comes up and it's kind of controversial, and then you like look at the person that you know is going to have an opinion about it, and they get up very slowly and they get in the seat and they're like, "Okay, first of all, you're wrong," and then an argument ensues.
Yeah, that is beautiful. The tough thing about that was that, like, I guess what you had to do in that class was disrespect the rule. Because if you got up again, he would just, like, kind of let you. But he said to only get up once. And so you couldn't, like, come back. You could just get up on the stool and say anything or tell a story. And I got up on the stool and he even said you could sing. And I sang the song, by the Crash Test.
Yo, that's a good song.
Yeah, but nobody knew it, and so it was just me singing a super deep voice.
I know that song, man.
And Mr. Custodi was like, I've been saying that for years, and nobody's ever actually come up and sang in front of the class before.
The only reason I know about it is because it's at the end of Tag. But that's the only reason I ever heard of it. And every time it plays, my dad and I just laugh so hard because it's. I don't know why it makes us laugh. It's not a funny song.
Yeah, it's not. It's a terrifying song. But
yeah, it's about people getting like bullied into doing stuff. Basically, I don't know.
Oh, not bully. It's about it's about domestic abuse. Basically.
Yeah. There's talk about It's very it's very full of heavy topic, man.
Yeah,
great idea, Beans. Let's sing it in theology.
Yeah.
Yeah,
why would you think that in theology?
They didn't understand the implications of
I guess the
song.
funny thing about the song is the fact that it's called like
yeah, because it's kind of like the thing about it is that it's implying it's like when you look at the music video, it's like
yeah, it's like when you raise your eyebrows and you're like, hey, look what's happening here. This is some domestic abuse, bro. Come on.
I mean, I sang it because it was super just deep voiced, and that just was lol XD random. So that was
lol. Oh, don't say that. Lol XD. Oh, I don't miss people that say that, bro.
But yeah, no, I don't. But it does slap. Also, that song. It goes hard. There's not a lot of things that sound like that anymore, really. I don't know.
You know what? As a tribute to you love that song, Beans. We'll end this episode. Well, not now, but when we end this episode, we'll end it with a little bit of the song. It's
we'll
fine.
Get copyright strike.
We're not big enough to actually care about revenue, man. It doesn't matter if we get copyright.
That's fair. Yeah, we can get copyright strike, but then they can run ads on our video. That'd be so funny.
Oh yeah, didn't we?
All right.
It reminds me of something because we probably talked about it like early in the podcast. But like YouTube, I don't know if they're still doing it, but when we talked, I think we talked about this, but some time ago, like YouTube started putting ads on channels that couldn't monetize their stuff, and they can't claim that revenue. So it's just they're using videos that can't claim revenue to get money. I mean, that's a fun little thing that YouTube's doing.
Yeah. So YouTube is a monopoly, which is kind of like a worst case scenario. For a business. So it's a tough situation, and also some people have looked into it, and it's possible that they're not even making money because they have to run this whole thing. They've got this really complicated algorithm that they don't really know what it does, and then they have to keep everyone in the dark about what's going on so that they can claim that they're not monitoring their videos so that they don't get sued. So it's a really tough situation with YouTube, and there are a lot of problems with the company, and reasons why it can't, its communication is horrible. That's what it's most known for, is with the creators, with people who rely on it for money. It's a really tough situation for a lot of people. Hopefully, it kind of gets sorted out and YouTube becomes less of an insane place. I just went on this rant. I'm sorry. I was about to ask Zach if he was forced to sing a song in front of the school, what song he would sing, but that kind of feels inappropriate.
No, we could talk about that. If you were forced to sing a song in front of the school, what would you sing?
I'm gonna be honest. I really don't know.
Go on. No.
Yeah, I got nothing.
That would be so insane. I want to actually do this to someone, but it would be cruel. But
please not me. Please, someone
For
else.
someone to sing in front of the school and see what they choose and like if they can actually pull it off, or if they go for the, oh, I'm just doing this really horribly for the meme or something.
Yeah.
Did you ask Marie the same question? Because I know she would.
Oh,
I didn't ask
Well,
her.
she kind of does. I mean, when we have
essentially.
mass, I mean, I guarantee you, she would like have a list of like 50 songs she'd be cool with singing in front of the school, because she literally
that's
has
true.
no social anxiety whatsoever. At least from what I can tell,
None.
absolutely.
Yeah,
none.
that's crazy to me because I get up on stage and I'm shaking all over. I think I've said this before,
Yeah.
but yeah, some people just got nerves of steel. I don't know.
Imagine if that's what they did. Like the school was like low on money, and so in order to reduce the amount of students they had to accommodate for, they said, "Hey, every student, you have to you get kicked out of the school unless you do this. You have to pick a song of your own choice and sing it in front of the school. And if anyone opts out and says no, then they just get kicked out."
I'm doing the math in my head. It's like 2,400 hours to, like, assuming every song's like 3 minutes, and then we
Yeah.
just listen to every single student sing a song.
I mean, maybe
We're talking full songs.
yeah, full songs, or maybe
I don't
maybe
even know
you-
how many. I don't even know how. Oh, the full lyrics too.
I mean, imagine if like maybe you just have to practice it and do enough of it, and then they give you a thumbs up, and then you can walk off stage, and you do like 25 students a day.
Oh my gosh, this could work. That's the terrifying thing.
No, we don't want this to happen.
This will never
This is-
happen.
This would be the coolest dystopia. Imagine it's this dystopia.
Coolest or cruelest?
It'd be both
Coolest.
cool and
Imagine
cruel.
imagine a dystopia that's just based on making everyone optimally embarrassed all the time. It would be
This is
so
Beans'
cool.
next book.
Oh my gosh, I should write. This is like a good like title for a book, and an idea, and then the book itself is just going to be awful.
Yeah,
I should write
like it's like
This is what sells.
it's like
This
if
is
you
what
start
publishers buy.
yeah, it's like if you start a movie but thinking of the title first, like, oh, that'd be a cool title, and then the movie's just garbage because you based it all on a stupid title. I mean, that'd be a tough situation.
Oh man, it'd have to be like. I mean, honestly, it would work if we did like Diary of a Wimpy Kid kind of thing. That style of book, and then we have a dystopian Diary of the Wimpy Kid.
Oh,
The greatest elevator pitch I've ever had. It's a dystopian Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Yes. Oh my gosh, we're gonna make millions. We're gonna make millions. Listen to me, Scola.
this is the point in the podcast where the guest is finally exposed to how insane Beans is.
Yeah.
Welcome to the real BeansTalk.
At the beginning, they were like, "Beans, you're too quiet," and then as I get excited about making millions of dollars, and the money side parts of my eyes roll up, which you guys can't see at home, thankfully, so you can't see how greedy I am. Once those roll up, there's no stopping me. I'm the loudest man on the planet.
No,
yeah.
I've had class with you, Beans. I know you get fired up.
Yeah, dude. That is weird. Even people that like know Beans is a different Beans on BeansTalk. It's like the same Beans at school, but it's a little more amped up because it's just the audio and people can't see the craziness in his eyes, and he can he can't say whatever he wants, but he can say most of what he wants.
Yeah, y'all just give me too much dead air. Like, imagine if at school, like, dead air was considered bad. How much more I would talk. Like, that.
Oh my gosh. That would be. There's so much dead air in so many classes that I'm in right now. Imagine if like the grade of the entire class average just started going down a point for every like 5 seconds of dead air. Too much talking.
All of the genius kids would just be like sputtering the entire time. That'd be so
And everyone else would be like, "Thanks, man. Thanks for doing your part."
Just imagining Max Niebuhr and he has to talk the entire time or else his GPA
I was
drops.
just
Like,
thinking about him. He would talk forever in Miss O'Brien's English last year, and just it would all be the most intelligent thoughts I've ever heard in my life, just for 5 minutes straight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
geez.
the amount of geniuses in that class specifically last year made me feel kind of dumb.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, dude. I was sitting there like I never thought like an English class would be the one that breaks me like that. I always thought it would be like math And I'm like, oh man, I don't know anything about math. But the amount of like when people would say, oh, maybe this means this, and I would be like, I didn't even know that was in the book. I didn't realize that could be a thing.
I just read it to try and just read a book. I didn't try and connect it back to society. I was just trying to enjoy some words on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you get into like, you get into those higher level math courses, and then the super smart kids just like, they just are like, okay, I know everything, and then they don't talk, and so you don't realize how much they know. But when you get into those English classes where it's about sharing your opinion, then they talk, and you're like, oh my goodness, no. Like,
you said English clash on accident, but that's almost what it is. Like when two differing opinions come at each other in a class discussion, that gets very intense.
Yeah,
we should have you giving commentary on an English class.
Yo, that would be funny if you do a play-by-play on an English class. You're just like
that would be.
It's like you seen the SNL skit where it's like I forget who it is. I think it might be Tyler the Creator, and he's like he's a regular sports commentator, but they send him to do an esports commentary, and he's like, dude, I don't even know what's going on, man.
Dude, I'm imagining right now like Zach Smith being like, and so Jim just talked. It's pretty obvious that he didn't read the book, so everyone's ignoring what he said, and now.
That would be if anyone commented. If anyone commentated one of the classes last year, when they got to me.
It's just like you can tell when someone didn't read. It's usually when someone didn't read. It's either the like admitting it out loud, just like, hey, I didn't even read it, or they're trying really hard to connect something. Yeah,
or they're just agreeing, agreeing, but switching the certain words in the thesis. Just switching certain words to make it seem like their own, but they do not know what they're talking about.
Yeah, like someone in an English class that didn't read the book sounds like it's like the equivalent of like having to do an essay the night before and just going to Spark Notes and being like, I'm gonna make this sound like me. This is gonna sound like what I have to say, but really, I didn't read the book. I mean, that's what it feels like. They're either admitting it. They're just agreeing, especially that the what's the phrase, like going off of this point, like that's a very popular one where people say going off of Beans' point. I agree. That's a good point.
Adding on to Marscola's point, I definitely see what he's saying there, and I think the same.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds enough intelligent and enough like you know what you're talking about for Miss O'Brien to be like, yeah, okay, oh yeah, good job, you get like a B.
Or the clutchest thing for those people is if you get off topic and you start talking about something that's like happening in the real world.
Yeah, then you actually know what's going on. It's like you can connect it to something that you're interested in. Like, and it's kind of like that basketball game, that I was watching the other night, and stuff happens and it's real.
Yeah,
I want to know what books you're reading in English if you can connect it back to a basketball game.
Dude, I want to
take that English class.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, it's strange how all 4 English classes I've taken in the 4 years feel so different. It's because of the teachers, obviously, but they feel really different in terms of like how they relate to each other. Like the classes that I had, Closer, that was just like a whirlwind because we didn't know anything, and Closer was just trying to catch us up. Foster,
and we had 3 different teachers that year.
Yeah, that too. That really threw us for a loop too. But then sophomore year, Foster, that was like I'm feeling it's all right. It's a little easier now, but also we got to write a research paper, so this is fun. And then last year was definitely, I think, so far the hardest English class I've taken, just because it was like Closer material, but on the level of you got to figure a lot of this out on your own because you should know how to do this now. And then this year, it's still tough, but it's a little more chill with DePaul. He makes it a little more like relaxing and comfortable. And the fact that we watch a lot of movies is nice. I mean, it's a different feel in the 4 years.
I think that this year, I don't know. They're all a lot of work, but this year might take the cake because we're so crammed just from COVID. But yeah, Mrs. O'Brien's class, I mean, that's someone who you can tell just reads a lot of different poetry and really likes it, and reads some new book and really likes it and wants to bring it into the class. And then she still expects a lot from you we'd write essays in the class a lot. So she does a really good job, preparing you, and that's just a really hard class, but you always know what to expect. It's a really good class. All of the English classes are pretty good at St. Joe. Yeah.
I think even the film lit class this year, taking something as like something that you wouldn't expect to necessarily be academic, and then just taking those and putting a whole new spin on how you like watch them and what you start recognizing in them. I think that even that class, it's one of the most like real world applicable classes that we offer, just because films are in everyday life. You don't even have to be, everyone watches movies.
Yeah, I mean, I really wish that's why I knew it was going to be interesting and kind of like that, just because I kind of talked to DePaul about it before, like junior year, and I really wanted to do it, and I just didn't have room in my schedule, and then stuff got mixed around, and there wasn't any room. So yeah, I wish I could have taken that class, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I know. I should have. I really couldn't take that class because I was already taking like 3 semesters of English. But that would be a cool class. If I had a 5th year of St. Joe, that'd be on there.
Yeah, imagine a 5th year where it's like it somehow doesn't make you feel like you're in high school again, but you get to take like every easy class that you wanted to, or every fun class you wanted to. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
Take Coach Johnson's gym class.
Yep.
Just film lit.
I'll take summer gym. I never got to do summer gym.
See, do we count that since it's not a part of the regular like 7-period class schedule?
I don't know. It's an offered class, but it's weird because it's not a class since it's technically not in there. I would count it, I guess.
Is it counted as a class, or is it just counted as a credit waiver?
Yeah, I guess it's a credit waiver. That's more of what it is. And a lot of people did that, I remember. I remember there were some people in football that did that, not knowing what athletic gym was going to be like. And then they were like, I should have done athletic gym, dude.
I promise you, I never see the field at St. Joe in all of my 4 years if I don't take BD's class freshman year.
Yeah, that definitely.
That class developed me so much just physically. And any incoming 8th graders somehow get a hold of this podcast. Take BD's gym class, or even Coach Gaff's athletic gym.
Yeah.
It will make you work. You will be a better athlete. You will be in the best shape so far you have been in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was probably the most I could ever lift, and I'm probably like at least 10 pounds heavier.
Dude, it was so cool. Like I kind of, even though like I first met Beans and like I didn't really have an impression of anyone except for the people that I knew from football when I first went into that class. But after knowing Beans, I was like, dude, nice job, man. I didn't think like a crazy weird dude like you that like ran a lot, that didn't do a lot of lifting, would take a lifting class, bro. I was like, yeah.
That was crazy. I don't know. I remember being one of the weakest kids there. But it was great. Like, even if you're not athletic, it's not like you have to reach a weight limit. What's going to happen is that it's all about getting better. And so no matter where you are at, even if you can't lift the bar, they're going to find something for you to lift. And you're going to get to a point where you're lifting like double what you were at the beginning of the year, especially if you're at that point. Yeah.
I remember, and it's embarrassing even now, even though I realize, I wasn't experienced and I was a small freshman. I think at one point my max might have been like 10s on each side. Like it was that bad, and I don't really know what it is now, but it's definitely not just 10s on each side, man. It's crazy how much anyone that was in that class that I can think of now grew physically. I mean, it's crazy.
So coming into St. Joe, I had never touched a weight in my life until like when freshman football started up. By the time we did our first maxes in BD's class, I was benching 45s on each side. And then, but in that same max out period, I had put 225s, so 245s on both sides on the squat rack. I was getting set to do it. And then BD gives me the most confused look of all time, is like, Smith, ain't no way you're getting that up. Just like, because most typical freshmen don't try 2 plates on their first like round of maxes. But then I can't remember exactly if I get it up or if I just barely miss it. But seeing his like, oh, I was very close to being wrong there.
Yeah, I mean,
That
he
face was
definitely-
just. It may not have like been my biggest motivation per se in the weight room, but seeing his face after that, and you're like, huh, if you just put a lot of effort in, proving people wrong is kind of fun.
Yeah, it was. He did a lot of that, like motivating and kind of like being the most funny. Not, I wouldn't say condescending, but kind of like the, oh, come on. I mean, and then it would be, motivating some other days. Like there would be times where he would, until you actually put the weight on, and he's like, nah, don't do it. You're good. Yeah, I don't know if you can. And then when you have it on, you're like, well, it's on. You better do it. I mean, come on, do the. And that got me most of my maxes, and it was crazy that he was able to motivate like that. Great, no, dude, great. I don't know, like coach, teacher, great individual at St. Joe, man.
Great person, yes, St. Joe legend.
Yeah,
and his class may have been like the biggest, like the best thing for my foundation in weightlifting, but the jumps from like year to year, just off of like football workouts, that's something I'm really proud of with myself. Like, I think junior year from like, I don't remember exactly how we did our max periods. Scola, help me out here, but I think it's like we maxed right before Christmas break and then right after to get our new maxes for the workout chart.
Mm-hmm.
The maxes after the first max after Christmas break to then I think we just had gotten our maxes in like right before COVID hit, so we like had just maxed out again. I think we both like improved on squat by like 100 pounds.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
That like 4-week period.
The improvement was ridiculous, and just in that 4 weeks, you're right. It was good to have at least get that right before COVID hit, because I was able to at least, benchmark where I was so I could do something. Because, even though I have, weights at home, not having the resources of the weight room at St. Joe, I mean, it changed drastically. Out of nowhere, I was like, okay, I don't have access, and all I have really is a bench and a bunch of free weights at home. And I had to somehow figure out how to keep the squat up, keep the bench up, keep the clean up. I mean, it was really hard.
Hilarious story from COVID lifting times. So if anyone who knows me knows I am what you might call vertically challenged, not the tallest dude at all. But so I have a bench in my garage, and I would lift on that like 4 or 5 times a week during lockdown when no one was doing anything. But I didn't realize until about September that I was short enough to put the bench at the setting for like people with the longest arms to do it. And I could have used that as a squat rack the entire time and just didn't know to do it.
That's like a sad, but it's like you it's sad because you realize you could have done it, and then you're like, yes, I can do it. And then you go, oh, I can do it.
Squat is by no means my favorite lift, but it's probably what I'm best at comparatively speaking. But yeah, it was so many emotions when I realized that. I felt very stupid for not realizing that from the very beginning, because I had thought of just everything to possibly do to try and get squats in. And then I was like, oh, but I can start doing it now. But I discovered it mid-season, so I wasn't going to like kill my legs on top of lifting before practice and then on top of practice itself. Like,
yeah,
it was almost too little too late.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a really fun time talking about weightlifting, Super Bowl, and all sorts of stuff. But we are out of time here. Smitty, thanks for coming on. Thanks for being a guest.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Beans, you want to take us out? Honestly, as we get further, Beans, it feels like it's even like further and further that I hear your outros, just because I look forward to doing these every week. So let's hear it. What do you got for us today?
All right. Today we got another edition of Do You Even Lift, Bro? We're bringing you sweet stuff like a big gulp. All right, I missed a syllable, and that was pretty bad. but we're coming back with some more raps. No, we're not. This is the end. See you next time. See you then. That was a bad one.
that was. It was like you slowly just started dying. That was all right, man. That was good.
The Roman Empire in rap, but not in like words.
Yeah. It was just in like barf. You're like barfing words onto the screen. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Zach. Close it out.